Welcome back to Money Matters and our discussion with Jason Smolen about business, estate, and succession planning. So we talked a little bit about why and who and when and where. What about the what? What's the process? How do they, if I'm a business owner and my partner's yelling at me and my kids are yelling at me and my in-laws are yelling at me and I'm like, geez, I finally say, hey, I got to do this. I got to get moving on this. What's the process? How do they go about it? They find a good lawyer?
I would start with finding a good lawyer.
Yeah.
A lot of times you have a good accountant or should have an accountant.
Yeah, that's right.
And hopefully, because you're successful, you have a good financial advisor. You may have a lawyer that has handled certain things but may not be skilled in what you need to combine the knowledge to make this type of a transition.
Can I ask you something? I'm sorry to interrupt, but what about if I have a lawyer for my corporation, is that necessarily the best lawyer to represent me for my succession planning?
Not necessarily. Could be, but not
Could
necessarily.
you talk about that?
Sure. You know, a good corporate attorney is very involved and knows the transactions for merger acquisition, keeping you current on regulatory affairs, keeping the corporate books in order, maybe even handling your leases, handling purchase of another business, things of that sort. It's a totally different knowledge set,
right,
which they may possess, but usually not, that is involved when you're trying to transfer a business. It's a different dynamic.
Is there a conflict of interest there too, if the law firm is representing the company and the owner in their succession planning?
That is a conflict. It's sometimes a waivable conflict if we're going to be very technical, but it's potential conflict. Plus, it's actually better for me, for example. I rather work with a corporation that has a corporate lawyer,
right,
and help the process along, because they do a lot of groundwork in getting the job done, and sometimes they're very helpful in getting it done. So there's a role, and it's not a duplicative role. They're both needed.
They can clear a lot of the brush out of the way for you, so you can move in and do what you're supposed to do.
Right, and quite frankly, if a company has had a corporate lawyer, you know things are in order.
You know, it's funny because going back to my story before, I had we were reviewing these documents done for the estate planning for that one owner I was telling you about, right, with all the food businesses, and the lawyers came back and said, this is pretty rudimentary. It's good, but it's not where you need to be, and that's why I brought that up.
What you're suggesting, and it does happen sometimes, you outgrow your attorney, and it's not a negative thing. There are lawyers that handle different types of affairs and have different skill sets.
In my business, the same thing.
Exactly.
I don't pretend to do everything for everybody. Right.
Yeah. If somebody came to me with a criminal matter, I mean, I
don't know. I got speeding here.
Exactly. I wouldn't have a clue what to do, or a personal injury case, which is just not our field, and yet they're very important fields. So you really need someone that has experience in transferring businesses, because you don't want someone inventing the wheel on your case.
Okay.
Because of the dynamics of the family dynamics, because of the valuation issues, and what you've described as the owner finally saying, my kids are here, my family's there, I need to do something. It's actually ideal because you're getting involved at the right time in the right place, though it might already be late, but maybe he has this epiphany 10 years before the time. Because as I mentioned earlier, if somebody stays at the helm too long, sort of like Queen Anne, if the Queen stays in the throne too long, who takes over? Everybody kind of moves on. You want to do it when you can see who can fit and who's there without discouraging that.
Absolutely.
So
that's a successful transition to you.
That's a successful transition at a good price, at a good value, moving money out of your estate efficiently, so that you minimize the amount you have to pay in estate taxes or capital gain taxes. And I would say the most important thing is take care first, family first. So you and your wife created the business, you're running it, make sure we take care of you.
Okay, so the owner, best case scenario, the owner creates a succession planning, sticks around for 2 to 3 or 4 years in a consultant position, and then they they start to phase out, and then the new people have the opportunity to take over the business and learn the ropes.
Exactly.
Learn the contacts and relationships.
That would be a very good way, because it's a very smooth transition. You don't upset your trades, you don't upset your employees, you don't upset the vendors. The owner is there so that if there's new management or you bring up the next generation, the employees get comfortable with who they are, and the other thing is when children come up, they have trouble. They could have trouble on who's running the show, who's the boss, even if you have a corporate structure.
Sure.
They go home to dinner at night, and see
Right.
each other Thanksgiving and the holidays. But a father or a mother saying, no, this is the way it's going to be, this is the way I want it, people understand that and accept that.
All right.
So you want that to be there long enough for things to settle down and work right.
Well, let's talk about the process. How many meetings does it usually take? 2, 3, 5? They need to get insurance often? Isn't that the case? Life insurance trust, isn't that an option?
It's more than an option. It has to be considered. Because if you, for example, have a business like I gave before, a $10 million business.
Okay, good example.
And you're only going to get a $2 million, at best $4 million with good estate planning deduction, you still have a massive tax to pay. And if your only other asset, and let's say the business provided very good income, but you don't have $5 million in cash, what's going to happen is you need a very nice vehicle that will provide cash on death, pay for the estate tax bill, and leave the business intact. And you're
And running with no stoppage.
With no stoppage. And though the IRS has installment methods, not where you want to go if you could avoid it.
No, that's the worst case scenario. Well,
Right.
worst case scenario, you lose a business, but the second worst is you have to deal with the IRS to help you.
They are the worst creditor on earth. Don't pay. See what happens. You think we're having trouble with the market right now? Don't pay the government. See what happens.
I'm here, trust me, I'm here from the government. I'm here to help you.
Right, exactly.
All right. Well, listen, this has been great. I think it's been really interesting. Just real quick about how many business owners you know are here in the area. What's the average size case you work with?
Oh, for it to make any sense, you should be in certainly over $1 million, but usually over $2 million.
Okay. And then that's where you need to start doing this.
Right.
If people wanted to find out more about estate and business succession planning, where should they go?
Okay, well, I'd like them to call me Jason Smolen. My firm number is 703-790-1900, and we're on the web as well at SmolenPlevy.com, which is www.SmolenPlevy.com.
I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I really like it. And thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you watching the show. If there's any subjects or topics or people you want us to cover, you can contact me at thomas.spottiswood@wachoviasec.com. Look forward to seeing you again soon, and remember, your money matters.